Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So for today's lesson, we're going to continue our topic on integration. So yesterday we have covered the 3 points from integration, which is we learned how to integrate the polynomial function of ax from n, and then we learned how to apply integration on coordinate geometry in finding equation of curve, and then we did half of the composite integration where we learn how to integrate composite function. So today we're going to continue this part, which is we want to integrate composite function when the question asks you to use hence. So you will understand what I mean later. Okay, so we're going to skip some of the slides. So if you look at the example on page 4, example 9.8 from the notes that I have given you, okay, you have this question. A, they ask you to show that this left hand side equals to the right hand side. So what it means that you need to differentiate this left hand side equation and make sure that we have the same answer to this right hand side part. So d over dx bracket 3x squared minus 4 bracket 2 of 8 means that the differentiation of this function. So this is just another way of writing differentiation. Make sure you understand it. So basically we need to differentiate 3x squared minus 4 to the power of 8. So this is a composite function. So the differentiation of this function equals to this. You simplify it and you get this. So these are the same answer shown. Sometimes they don't ask you to show, they just ask you to find it. Okay, so it can be one of those two. So part A is quite easy. So part B is the one that is quite confusing. So hence find the integration of 6x bracket 3x squared minus 4 to the power of 7. So if you analyze this question, okay, first of all, this is very similar to 48x bracket 3x squared minus 4 to the power of 7. They are very similar. Okay, so we are going to relate these two later. And then another analysis is that this function is actually two functions and their multiplication. Function 1 times by function 2. Remember differentiation? Okay, so this is function 1 times by function 2. Okay, but for your level, you only need to know how to integrate simple polynomial ax to the power of n, or how to integrate composite function only, bracket ax plus b to the power of n. That's it. You will not learn, you don't need to know how to integrate function times by function. Okay, and then you cannot simplify this to make it a simple function because of the power 7. Right? So how are we going to integrate this function times by function? If they ask you questions like this, okay, so you need to use hence, which is your previous solution, and then you need to use some simple algebraic manipulation. Alright, so remember, we don't teach you how to integrate function times by function. We only teach you how to differentiate. But since they ask you this question, how do you solve this? Using hence and simple algebraic manipulation most of the time. So you'll see what it means with examples. Alright, so let us try solving that question, part B. Okay, so please follow the steps that I have provided you with, right, to avoid confusions. Okay, read the notes, okay, read the steps and try to understand and redo it. So step 1, let us copy the answer from previous solution. Okay, so we have this solution. The differentiation of 3x squared minus 4 to the power of 8 equals to this. I want you to have this statement, this line. Right, always start from the previous solution. Step 2, we just put integrals on both sides of the equation. So I'm just putting this integral dx on the left side and on the right hand side. Okay, the rest you just copy. Okay, now step 3. Let's focus this part left hand side. You have the differentiation sign, then you have the integration sign. So it means you differentiate 3x squared minus 4 to the power of 8, and then you integrate it. I'm drawing you a diagram here for you to understand it better. So you differentiate it into something. You don't really need to differentiate it because you're gonna integrate it straightforward. After you integrate it, it's gonna go back to this. Okay? But you have to put plus c because this is indefinite integral. Alright? So this part means you differentiate it and then you integrate it straightforward. So you're gonna go back to here. So this whole thing is equals to this. Okay, just add plus c. Right, the integration and the differentiation, it cancels out. Alright, so on the right hand side you don't do anything more. Okay, so done. So step 4, now we focus on the right hand side. Remember that this part is almost the same as the question that we want, which is integrate 6x bracket 3x squared minus 4 to the power of 7. You see, there are a lot of similarities here. The only difference is 48 and 6. Okay, so let's focus on the right hand side, and we're gonna manipulate this, change this form so you can have this form. Right, so what can you do here? We can separate 48, factorize becomes 8 times by 6. Now you have this exactly the same form as the question, but you can move 8 to the other side. So I take 8 out of the integral, then move it to the left hand side, becomes divide. So now I have this, what the question wants. Right? So this integration, what the question wants, the answer is this one. That's it. Okay, but you can make this nicer. You can simplify this. C over 8 is a constant. We don't know what number is it. It is. So we can rewrite it as C, because it's still a constant that we don't know. In fact, you can use any letter you want. Okay, so that's it. That's the solution. So we don't use any kind of formula. We just use algebraic manipulation. Please reread this and redo it so you can understand better. Right, so these are another example that you can read. Almost the same, almost exactly the same. Right, so if you look at part B, they want you to integrate this function. This is function divided by function. Remember, we only learn how to integrate simple polynomial function and composite. We don't know the formula on how to integrate function divided by function. We know how to differentiate, but not how to integrate. Okay, so how do we integrate this? If they ask an exam, using hence, previous solution, and simple algebraic manipulation. So these are the solution with the exact same steps. So please reread it and redo it. So here are a few examples that we can try. This is a very good examples. Okay, I provided also the solution. If you have questions, please try and ask me. So we have covered now 3 points, 3 subtopic of integration. Now we're going to move on to the 4th one, which is definite integration. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. So definite integration is when we are given the limits for the integration. So the limits is this, b and a. Alright, so it means that we only integrate from b up to a. Usually the bigger number is on top, the smaller number is below. So what does this mean mathematically? So mathematically this means we integrate f, okay, and then we substitute the upper limit minus the lower limit. Okay, we do not put plus c because it cancels out. Okay, and usually definite integration requires you to evaluate, which means you need to get the value. What number is it? Alright, so let us try an example. Okay, so evaluate the integration of x cubed from the limit 4 up to 2. Okay, so you know the mathematical means of this one. Okay, so if we integrate, this is our fx. If we integrate x cubed, it will become x4 over 4. Okay, plus c. So this is your big fx. Okay, after we integrate small fx, it will become big fx. So I just copy the limit for 2. This means you substitute 4 to the fx minus you substitute 2 into the big fx. Okay, substitute 4 into here, simplify, and you notice that the c cancels out. Alright, so that's why for definite integrals there is no plus c because it cancels out. So next time you do this, you don't need to put plus c here. Okay, you don't need to show it cancels out. Alright, so then please redo this so you can understand better. So here are a few examples that you can try. Alright, so this is just a composite function with power half. And then this one you can bring this up, becomes 5 minus 2x to the power minus 2, become another composite function. So these are few tougher questions that you can try. This requires you to use your mathematical skills, your emphasis law, to simplify it. Alright, so this is function, divide by function, I know, but they do not ask you to use hands. Right? So most probably you can simplify this to become a simpler equation. So you expand this first, then use emphasis law, okay, to simplify this. Right? So for question 2 is also, now question 2 is just root x is to the power of half. Okay, so you're gonna have to use your emphasis law understanding here, and then just integrate as usual. So number 3 is quite straightforward. Okay, so here the solution to check whether you get the correct answer or not. Okay, this part here is almost the same as the one before. Okay, where it requires you to use hands. So you have this function, you differentiate it, done. And then they ask you to hands integrate this. The only addition here is the integrals. Okay, before we don't have the limits, now we have the limits. So you just follow the steps. Okay, so the first step is we use hands, the previous solution here. Okay, so divide by dx equals to this. Then remember, you put the integrals on both sides. Okay, include the limit. Then focus on left hand side here. If you differentiate y and then you integrate it, differentiate it to something and then you integrate it, you'll get y back. Okay, in this case you don't need to put plus c because it's a definite integrals, the c will cancel out. So you're gonna have, so this whole thing will become this y. Okay, and then on the right hand side you don't need to do anything yet. So what is your y? My y is this. You change that to 2 over x squared plus y. Done. Now step 4. Okay, we have to target the right hand side so it can be exactly the same as the question that they want. So if you see here, it's almost the same as this form. The only difference is the minus and 4 here. So we can multiply both sides by minus half, then it will become 2x. So here you will have minus half. So this whole thing, the question they ask you, is equals to this. You just need to evaluate this. Alright, so what does this mean? This means that you substitute 2 minus you substitute 0. Right, don't forget the minus half. Simplify, then you get the answer. Done. So here are a few examples that you can try with the hands problem. Yeah, there is also a solution to for you to check your answer. So please try all of these examples. If your integration is good, then the last two part will be very easy. Right?